Okay, we're gonna call the meeting 2 o'clock. Take notes. Couple things on sanitation. I'm working on, because I have left, absolutely nothing else to do in my life.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is such a mess right now, I'm going to go through property by property of the village with the paperwork I have and come up with a list, because I have 409 titles or property availables to bill. I think it's 409, whatever it come up with. Okay. Now, not all of those obviously are, they're vacant, so I'll have to sort that out. I have sheets saying that it's somewhere going to be around 200 to 220 properties that we should be collecting from. Right now, the paperwork that I have from Waste Management says that there's approximately 440 residential units in the village. I'm taking issue with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them some hardcore numbers before I trust them. I have the sanitation fund records. There is exactly 142 billed customers on this sheet.
142.
142 on this as of February 28th. And I've asked the office a couple times, and they keep coming up with 140, so I'm thinking 142 is fairly accurate.
Yeah, okay.
Now, there's several that are missing on here, one of which is you.
Yeah,
Do you pay for sanitation?
my husband does, as far as I know.
Look up Dawson.
I would say, unless it's under a different name.
Yeah.
That would be the,
Yeah.
Dawson.
I was going down through and figuring out who I didn't actually,
That's that from the last meeting.
okay. I'm not seeing that one right. Let's see.
Is it alphabetic?
Yes. So I just, there was, but I didn't know how it was in there. But that's, I mean, that was one right off the top of my head. There's several others here that I need to get with the office and figure out, because I can go down through month or quarter by quarter and look at the invoice number, and all of a sudden there's gaps in invoice numbers, which doesn't make sense to me. You can figure on that one. There's obviously some people that are a little delinquent, has it been rectified or not. I found out through the,
There are several who aren't paying, I understand.
we're going to sort that out. Under ordinance 132, I don't know if we're actually going to be able to even get money out of people if they don't pay the way it's written. That's a whole other subject we need to address.
Ordinance 142?
132.
132.
That is the
And
garbage
why
collection
don't
and disposal.
What's the problem?
Because we actually have to go to court to do that. It is actually a misdemeanor and fine. We can't send to collections. We can't just, and the only repercussion we have is if they don't pay, we can cut off their service.
Right, in
And
fact.
with the way this waste management.
This is a good point for me to point out. Didn't Mary Lewis and the village have a lawsuit over the ordinance?
And that was another thing I need to figure out.
And she won.
She won.
And Jim Tersher came to our meeting and said the village has never had a lawsuit over an ordinance. So there is an example of a lawsuit over an ordinance. He said that Houghton County has never seen such a lawsuit. There is an example of a lawsuit over a village ordinance. So
Yeah, I've got a lot of legwork to do to get this right. The other thing,
You know, when you brought that up, it's like when people are delinquent every quarter, I think they get like a certified letter. Because the postman, when he'd bring them to us, he'd say, I hold it against my forehead, like I know what's in here. And then say, if you don't pay, we're going to cut off your service. Well, if you want it cut off, why would you send it? You know, it didn't matter. And we're spending a lot of money.
Peggy, I hate to inform you, but as of this, you were up to date, I believe, or 1 month behind, or one thing behind us all.
Right, this
Before,
This
yeah.
was years ago when we were paying at our camp,
Oh, okay.
and we got a cheaper, better service, so we just drive the 5 miles because we're out there all the time. But they said that we could not pay, and because we had a mortgage, they put in on our tax bill for the county, and our mortgage company said we had no right to create a lien against their interest in our house at the time. So because Nani didn't have a mortgage, there was no way they could go after her. But we had to pay when we didn't use, no matter what, and other people didn't. So it was socioeconomic discrimination because we were poorer and we owed money on our house. They had us. Yeah.
I'm aware of the pay that is in here. I do have the paperwork from the waste management, what the rates are going to be, but the problem is they're billing us at 440 residential units. Right.
But why did that contract go to Rob in January and you just got it from
Actually,
Sydney?
it didn't go out in January. It came through in July of last
It's
year.
a whole year old.
For a whole year, the office knew and the council did not.
Correct.
Why?
Communication problem, I think. Heights.
So anyway, I was aware that there was probably a document like this November, December last year, now that I have it.
Wow.
Something else to look at, as of the tax rolls, if we collect every dollar in the tax, or in every dollar that we have coming up in the next tax payment here for the village of Calumet, for the tax that is due, which was just sent out the other day, the revenues expected for the sanitation fund is going to be gross tax revenue for this go round is going to be $22,211.44, which is below what our budget is by several $1,000s. Also on top of that, I do know that the county of Houghton did not receive the delinquent tax by parcel to add to the bill. So we will not get anything more than that. We are not
Why didn't
getting it.
they? You know?
They didn't get it. It wasn't sent to them.
So
Okay.
we're expected
I
to
get
get 22,000, Jim?
No, that is actually what the,
Gross
if
tax, you said?
We don't have. enough
22,000 is
to
what the revenue is going to be from the taxes that's coming in.
Oh.
It's going to be our max. Now, obviously, if some people don't pay their taxes, it's not going to be on there, but that's going to be the max. What we actually are budgeted for, I believe, is more than that.
But if we have that's what the 3 mills on the tax bill
3
generate.
mills tax is going to generate 22 maximum.
But then together with the $36 a quarter for
Correct.
each unit, how much is our total garbage budget?
I don't know, but our garbage is going up. Okay, wait a second here. Actually, it's more. Property taxes budgeted for is 22,000, so that's right in line. I am standing correct. It was 19,000 we collected last year, so we are on line with that. The problem is going to be here is our charges services to residential customers. We're expecting a budget of 29,000. We currently got 29,300 last semester, or last year. Cleanup for spring was below what we had planned, so spring and fall is going to be. The problem is going to be the DDA money. Now, I have an ordinance for the DDA, number 131, whatever it is. It does not say in there, that should all go, they have a separate tax line item on the taxes. That money should be set aside and not be yanked out of different funds. Which I don't understand. I've asked Dave twice, I've asked him at the public meeting, I'm going to ask him again Tuesday, why the sanitation fund is getting billed in excess of 23% last year in the budget for the DDA when the DDA collects money on the tax rolls by themselves.
Yeah,
Why is the shell game going on?
yeah.
Ooh, dear.
We would be under budget have we not, if we don't have to pay that. I don't understand why we're paying that when DDA has their own line item on the taxes.
But it's a bigger problem. The DDA must have their own master plan and put what they're spending their money on in their master plan and adhere to that. I've never seen a master plan, and if they're using money and they haven't ever said what their plan is and how they're spending it, then we got a big
I
problem.
agree with you, Peggy. I really question a lot of the DDA. Oh, and by the way, I looked that up. July of 2022, the DDA will no longer exist unless we reevaluate this. So we only got a couple years left of their headaches.
Or you can terminate them.
Or we can terminate them beforehand. Yes, ma'am.
Yep, things can always be,
So I've been doing some background looking at why and what and wherefores. It just, the more I dig, the deeper and the wormier it gets. So,
Well, what good is the DDA doing for the downtown? Years ago, they used to do overall projects, benches, flowers, and that now it's like individuals are getting grants.
if
So-
you look at the DDA charter and what they're doing, they're supposed to do beautification and a few other things and not the stuff they're doing. It doesn't make sense to me. You are right.
And so it's become a problem because only a few businesses are being helped by the total dollars that are coming in. And when you look at how many empty storefronts, if we made the streetscape beautiful and inviting, then maybe people would be moving to our main street, I would
that's the
think.
whole thing, the appearance of the town.
Yeah.
Try to make it beautiful, clean it up, get rid of the light.
So
Yeah.
anyway, with that said, I'm gonna dig into, with paperwork, I have to dig into if we can come up with a list of properties. First of all, they've never told me which properties are exempt as far as the commercial, because in the thing it talks about different levels and where they are. We are allowed a quarter of a yard or 5 bags in one statement. The other statement says 5 bags or half a yard in the ordinance. Conflict there, I don't know.
I think we've always been told 5 bags.
5 bags,
And no size, just whatever.
no, 5 bags, it's gotta be the 30 gallon ones or less. It does spell that out. It also says yardage for exemptions and everything. So, I want to get all my ducks in a row. We do need to get a hold of Waste Management, but I want to give them a little more concrete number of the absolute maximum that it would be. And I know they did some research. They come up with some numbers, which is half of what the billable is here in this contract. It is going to be interesting. I also need to look at the last bills to see what our average tonnage is, because that's another thing in consideration of how much we're paying. It's a lower rate than, but. So anyway, 2016, their billing is at $2017, their billing is at $5.75 per household, which is $1 more than the previous year, and $65 a ton. What they don't say in there is there's also fuel surcharge and another charge.
Yeah, tipping fees. Yeah.
Yeah, they always tack on that.
But see,
2018 is
We
going
have
to go
to be
from.
very, very careful because we are allowed to provide the service, but we are not allowed to make any money.
Correct.
And that,
And it's one of those things that if we can find a handful of customers that are that are using the garbage pickup, that are not paying, and we get them to pay, we're gonna tip the scales and we're gonna start making money if we get too many more of them. So anyway, it's a very, if we get rid of the TIF money that we have to pay out, we're going to be fine. But you know, it's a shell game. They always transfer at the end of the year if we're not making money. So I don't. Anyway. From 6, so it's going to go up 75 cents next year. It went up $1 from last year. 2018 is going to go up to $6.50. And then 2019, 2020 is the last, it's a 3% increase over those couple of years. With us losing,
reasonable.
that's reasonable for what they're doing,
Yeah.
and they're going to keep the tip rate the same.
Yeah,
So
but
right,
it's
see,
our number of users and not being able to figure out who
correct.
should be billed.
The trick is, Peggy, is obviously our tax base increases slightly because of the way that the state evaluates property, so we'll get a little bit of increase. whether it's enough to cover the 3% or not. But our users are decreasing. We are not gaining properties within the village. There's no new residents, there's no new property, we're losing. So,
There's 2 more
It's-
houses that are going to be emptied out too.
yeah, it's a real slow dance down the road of, we're not gonna make it. But right now, it's a very fine tiptoe, and if we can keep the budget and the expenses and all that going, if we can get rid of the TIF money or the DDA pain in the...
Do you need help with trying to get all these houses out who are?
I will make up a list, and you guys will probably help me on what
Sure.
the, I've got the tax records, I've got a visual, I've got a couple different
Okay.
maps. It's just
This
a
is
matter of
lot of
spending.
work, I know.
It's a matter of going down through and,
So
but
I remember.
somebody's got to do it. It might as well be me. I've got all the information. I just got to sit down and spend the time and go
Yeah,
meticulously down the street.
I don't know if they ever fixed it at the village level, because when I wanted to know who the users was, I got a list of anybody who ever used the service, and many were deceased, including my parents, you know, so.
yeah.
So I knew that they were users, and then everything is, like our name was listed as Germ instead of Germaine. So when you have abbreviated names, you don't even know who the people are.
Really are.
So-
No.
I couldn't.
Well, and
even-
so I'm guessing what you got was the customer ID is probably what they did. They dumped the customer ID and gave you the
I can
abbreviated.
show you what they gave me.
That's probably what they did, because there's actually the customer ID, then the customer, and then the bill contact and phone number, which is not on this list, which, you know.
So our name isn't down there at all, my husband's name, Jim, Bob Dawson or Robert Dawson?
Now, you know,
DAW, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not your fault if they don't bill you.
nope, I have a daily, and then it goes to Sarah, and then it runs down to First Merit Bank and Divine, so it's not on it. But
Do they have,
this is what,
Jermaine at 716 Oak?
see, I don't have addresses on it.
See, that's a problem, you can't check that.
Yeah.
That
I
is-
have Jermaine right here, Brian, I have Brian down once,
But do you have, what's the address?
doesn't give an address.
See, you wonder how outdated it is.
Yeah,
If you move from one address to the other,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't have, but this gives me a base to start with, and we can go from there.
well, when I spoke to the guy from Waste Management, he said that Rob and he went around and they counted the houses and they couldn't figure out who was there and who was empty, and so they decided just leave it alone.
Well,
That was the
see,
answer.
with that, Peggy, what they did, I got that sheets here somewhere, of their numbers. I want to say it was 225 is what they agreed on, and then they ended up billing us at 440, so where they got the 440, I have no
That
idea.
sure is double then.
Well, the 440, they said they used the number of water customers to figure the number of garbage customers. That's how they did it.
But that's counting all the municipal buildings
Right.
and the,
No, see, I don't recall that is what was said. What was said was, Waste Management said, we got the number from Sudana. Maybe Sudana got it from the water customers. I mean, I don't think
So
Waste
it hasn't been
Management.
updated.
see, the only thing I can think of is when she did that, she looked at the only way that you could come up with 400 and some, and I don't know where she would have privilege of the water bills, but if you look at the tax right now, there is
You could call water.
taxable properties in the village of Calumet. Now, you're going by the tax ID number. Tax ID number is 408, which is dropped.
Yeah.
So it could have been she looked at the tax roll and said, all right, here's what we got. Now, that's not true, because like this parcel here is like 6 different tax ID numbers.
Mm.
So it's just way off. I know mine is,
I wonder
Three
if I
neighbors.
spoke with the water company personally, because it's the water company users determine the garbage users.
in a lot of municipals, they're billed by the same entity, yes.
So you're going to try and figure out who's using? Should we do a block by block inventory? We got 31 blocks in the town, and
This the only thing we're gonna be able to do, Peggy, is go address by address and say yay or nay. Is it a viable building that needs to be charged, first of all? Second of all, are they using the garbage? Do
we talk to them if there's someone home?
I mean,
Is that what
would you want to divide the,
I don't know, I'm looking for ways to do this,
I mean,
because right now,
I could do my block.
well, the trick is right now, Peggy, is we can start anywhere and go right down the street, but then you gotta check off, obviously, the commercial buildings that are high volume ones, the
Yeah.
apartment complexes that are high volume, which they can totally opt out of that. You know, there's a, where do we draw the line? Then we got vacants, then you gotta look at how many, because there's a provision within the ordinance, if they're only part-time residents, they can do half rate.
Yeah, summer's only, yeah.
So it's,
But, you know, you can't let some people opt out and others not opt out. If the ordinance says everybody pays whether they use or not, then that's what they're committing to when they move into the village.
correct.
And so that's why it's unfair, and that's why people have been
Well, and
deported.
it says in here that if a property owner is renting or leasing, or however you want to say it, and it's unoccupied, they don't have to pay. Okay? So that brings up a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I have a building that is a rental, and it's a single-family rental, and there's nobody in it, I don't have to pay. But on our quarterly billing things,
we have to pay.
We have to then.
Yeah. So that's why, to me, the only feasible thing is to get out of the garbage business. It's a very time-consuming.
our billing, I fully understand when they did this, why they did it this way, as a village to clean up the town and keep things going. But in this day and age with technology, we probably should let a private company do it. They can bill by the address, they know the collection by the address, or people can do whatever they want to get rid of their garbage.
Yeah,
Because right now, it is a very broken system, and it's not gonna get any better. There's too many, I don't wanna say Freddy freeloaders, but right now, within the
too
village,
many empty properties.
there's too many empty properties, there's too
Yeah.
many places you can,
I think it's a bigger headache.
And if it's for profit,
Yeah.
how much time is being spent billing and trying to, you know,
Yeah, private
go after
is
people.
much better too. I do too.
you had a,
Yes, can I have my petition from the public?
sure,
Okay.
I was holding off on that one.
I disagree. I am really for the village staying in the garbage business. I understand.
I agree with you, I think it needs to be modified.
Yes, I think that the village garbage system is completely broken and a complete mess. But the thing I would do would be to start fresh, write a brand new ordinance, have a public hearing, have the public involved on what that ordinance says, a system that everybody is on board with. But I would not leave the garbage to a private entity. What happens is you will see that the water company is a private entity that has taken over the utility of water from the village. The village used to do it. And what that meant was when I moved in, my bill was something like $50. It is now $100 and growing, you know. So in 10 years, the garbage bills, Waste Management today may offer it for $36 billing. But that $36 will become $72 within so many days, and it will continue to grow. Now we have only so much space on our planet to put garbage, so I assume our garbage utility will grow. But I think because the way garbage works in the United States is essentially waste management. I mean, I call them the mafia. They really are. Because I was in Duluth and I see this garbage truck and it says Nordic something, you know. They were trying to get by as a not waste management entity. But you look at it, really small, it had the W and the M. So they were hiding the fact that owning this truck was really Waste Management. Waste Management owns the places where garbage has to go in our country. You know, they own the waste disposal places. So they have the monopoly, okay? And so if we turn it over to them 100%, I mean, you know, Nate's gonna be here. We disagree on this. He'll say, oh, there'll always be a guy with a truck. Yeah, but that guy with the truck is always going to give it to Waste Management's landfill.
And I'm gonna say exactly right, and I did the look, and I don't remember the numbers.
Well,
This
I
is way back
didn't
in
know that
November.
they own the land.
Okay, out of the
Yeah.
30, there's something crazy like 37, I'm only using numbers because I can't remember exactly what it is. Out of like the 3,700 federally regulated, because they gotta be federally regulated disposal sites in the US that are allowed for residential garbage, out of the like 3,700, it's something crazy like 33 or 3,400 of those are owned or ran by Waste
Yes.
Management.
So I think Nate's idea of a guy with a truck will last for 5 years maybe. So our residents will get good garbage service at a little bit, a buck less than Waste Management or something for 5 years. But Waste Management is huge. They will come in, they will undercut the guy with the truck. There's no way the guy
Well,
with the
there's
truck
no
could ever
oversight.
compete.
And then they could charge so much to get rid of the garbage that it.
Yes.
Do you under-
So
do you-
the
okay,
only-
okay, Penny, let's back up. Do you understand what happens with that? When you take that garbage out and you stick it by the curb, what happens to that bag? The big green truck picks it up, along with everybody else. They go down to
The
Holton,
transfer
okay? It's called a transfer station for a reason. Because all they do is they compact that down into another semi, they weigh that, and then they haul that, I think it's Wisconsin is where that one goes to. They go down there, and they run it through another crusher and shredder, and they put it in the landfill. Okay? Other places that Waste Management owns, they go through, when a transfer station, they go through a sorting routine a couple, 3 times. They pull the metal out, they pull the plastic out, they do all that. In those facilities, it actually costs the consumers, being us, more to process that and turn that into raw material or reusable product than the other. And that's the way of the wave of what's going on, is that there's only so much land, unless we start filling up the Grand Canyon, we are not gonna, in a few years, we are not gonna have the places to put it, and it's gonna start costing us more because they're changing the way they're doing it, and they're turning it into viable raw products.
So,
and recycled
so I
products.
always see
It's
the
gonna get
bill,
very
the
expensive real
bill's
fast.
gonna go up.
Yes.
But the only prayer that people living in our little neighborhood have of going up against Waste Management is to work together as a village, to be 142 people together negotiating with Waste Management. And that's what the council does.
A better
That's-
contract.
That's what we do. Yes, we're here, we're going, oh my God, this is a headache, we can't get Mary Lewis on board, we can't get Nate on board, we can't get this. But we have a better chance of getting our neighbors on board than ever getting Waste Management to give us a good deal. As individuals, if I just
No,
walk down there,
you're
and
right,
say-
individual, they're
they're
gonna
never gonna do
slap
it.
us.
So I wish we had 4,000 people to go up as a community with them. But we have 142. I would not give up the chance of 142 people coming together and being negotiating as 142. Setting us up for you take care of it yourself
Kind of divide and conquer.
is going to mean that our garbage bill is no longer be 36.
Well,
It's going to be 136. It's going to be 236. I don't know what the future holds for garbage, but it's going to go up. And Waste Management will be a monopoly and not have to be competitive. So having a stake in the game is having the village be involved. To have that power to say, we'll get our own truck.
But then we have to use Waste
Then
Management.
we still have to use Waste
Unless we open up a mine and got federally funded and lined it and did all the stuff they have to do.
So
Yeah,
we're still in a bad situation, but
Not as bad.
we don't have to worry about the overcost for that truck driving around. If we could always band together and do it ourselves, or at least provide that option to
It
go up
really is
against
complex.
Waste Management.
There's so many,
But it's one of those things that if we go as a group on I'm saying the residents of Calumet as a group of people to negotiate a rate for 100 and some users, it's gonna be a little more palatable
Yeah.
than every individual, because they will say, they'll dictate the rate.
And I should say here, because this applies to this other scenario, we have heard people in the community, maybe it wasn't so much with the new council, but with the old council, come up here and say, let's dissolve this village, let's get rid of it. The purpose of the village is so that 142 people can come together and have some power and ability to be something than just one individual. So I really would prefer to fix our village government
I would
rather
fix
than
it.
dissolve it. But I
if you're
understand
not
it's a
doing what's
mess.
Right, I don't want to be a party to
No,
continue
you don't want to
doing
be a
what's
party
wrong.
to what's wrong, but I think that what's at stake is it's really important to have a village. It's really important to have a village because you have that power to come together rather than be just one person to walk up to a utility, to walk up to waste management and say, hey, this is too much. At least we've got our 5x5 block. I mean, I think that that's so important, and that's the whole reason behind having a village.
Interesting.
Oh, and then
I'll have to study it.
one little thing, Peggy, you had said, I think in May, and you had said this before, but people can't figure out how much their garbage costs them. So I did it. It is not like easy to see, but it can be done because your point is that it's split between a millage and a fee.
Right.
So what the people have to do is go to their tax and see, and it will say, what is it called?
What they're stated.
Ville Sanitation.
Right.
It's actually not 3 mils, it's 2.5, but I'm wondering if that has to do with the Headley Amendment or something, which can
Maybe
be over
It went down a little then.
somehow, yeah,
It's 2.5047.
okay.
2.5.
The number I have is 2.5125, but anyway.
Well, I'm going right off of what was the build
Okay,
by
by today, this is last year's,
Yeah.
so maybe it's different.
It was what
And
then?
last
was
year
it?
was 2.5125.
1, 2, so it did go down slightly.
Yes, and I wonder if is that the
It's
Headley
probably part of the
Amendment,
Headley Amendment, I'll bet you.
which
it's
can
a
be
ratio.
overridden, so that might be something the village needs to look into. So it could
So
go
we're
back to
talking,
the
we're talking 6/10 of a penny per mil difference. It's not worth it.
No, if the ordinance
Yeah.
says 3, you could go all the way up to 3. I think the ordinance says 3.
Right, but it's got to be the cost of living index or Headley, whichever is
Well,
less.
to override it, you have to go to a vote and say, all right, Village of Calumet, do you want to give the okay to override it? It can be done. It's as simple as that. It's just having them check on the ballot box. We give our okay to go higher.
Huh. But don't you take the SEV, which is half your real value, and multiply it by 0.003, and that gives you your cost that's put on the garbage.
Well, it's
Or
gonna be,
by
it's gonna be 0.002.
So
Yeah.
the way to calculate it as a resident is to, and I've got 2 because I have a house and a garage. So, you wouldn't want to, when you're doing your numbers, you need to look at the properties and say, okay, this is the house, this is the garage. You can't just go by lots. So, but I look at that. So I pay $22.97 for the garage sanitation and $46.75 for the house sanitation. You add it up, it's just under $70 a year. So I think that's very little, very, very tiny. $70
plus-
a year plus the 144,
Yeah,
and then you divide it by 12. My garbage costs at my house $17.81 a month. So everybody can do it, it just takes looking at your tax bill.
right. But that system isn't equitable either, because the more valuable your house, the more
That's
valuable
Right, so
your
that's why I
garbage.
said my garbage is $17.81, but your garbage may be $18. I don't know.
Yeah, or
It varies.
somebody else, it could be actually 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show that
Well,
calculation.
But for
in looking at the SEVs for most of the properties, yeah, there's some variation, but I'm shocked at the absolute value of the properties in this town are way low.
No, but the reason
Wait.
they are is people have owned them for many, many years, and you can only go the cost of living index once you buy. So if you were to buy a house today,
Peggy, I'm looking at an SEV, let's say this one here, an SEV is 87, taxable value is 33. Yeah, there are some like that, but the majority of these are a lot closer. The taxable value versus the SEV, and they are extreme, even the SEVs
no,
are
it can't be
extremely
that
low.
taxable is supposed to be half
No.
the SUV.
No. The SEV is half the property value on here, and the taxable is what, under the Headley Amendment, they get. I see what you're saying, but the numbers I'm looking at are, the SEV in here is half of what the
Of the
market.
actual value,
Yes,
which is way low. Because whenever I sold the property, I would multiply the SUV by 3.5. You know, the full amount and what, because if the SUV was half, so if the property was 10,000, it was actually valued at 20, and I multiplied 20 by 3.5 because it was so low.
yeah, I'm, the SEVs on all these properties, even some of the big hitters, are scary low.
But when you look at our per capita income,
So what
it
does
is
SEV mean?
state equalized valuation, what they say your property's worth.
Which is normally about roughly half of what the market value is, give or take. But like Peggy said, sometimes the market can be a lot higher or a lot lower than what double the.
In fact, I've sold some properties at Copper Harbor that we must be living in a $25 house in Calumet based on
Yeah.
their valuations.
Oh.
So that system, we don't have to fix though.
Yeah.
The assessor is the one
I don't understand all the terms, that's why I have to ask.
that figures out.
Well, here, I've got
What our
the SEV for the whole town is $10,781,000. Taxable is, $10,871,611. The taxable value is only $8,867,000. Now, you got to understand, that's, like you said, all the ones that are locked in the Headley. It also doesn't take into consideration any of the government facilities, because those are going to be zero across the board on all of those. So anything that is non-tax, EI, the building we're setting in, and a few other things, the actual value of the town is considerably higher than that.
I'm reading with great interest the conservancies that are off the tax roll and how Calumet County doesn't know if they can manage anymore. They're not
I can
getting
imagine.
the
I
dollars
can
in.
imagine.
Yeah.
Look what our friendly monks own, over 600 plus acres and buying more.
Yeah, they say there's over
And non-taxable.
126,000 acres off the tax rolls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the village really does, I mean, I say they have a fair amount of stuff that, the churches and the municipal buildings
Sure.
that are non-taxable, but there are some townships and cities that are really hurting because of trust and because of government land
Yeah.
and set-asides and a whole bunch of other stuff they have no their tax bases.
Yeah. Good old boys in Keven are starting to hurt.
Yeah, County Land Trust and a few other things.
So you're going to try and figure out how many actual users we have.
I'm going to get a ballpark, I'm going to do some more looking into this and see if I can't figure out if
And
there's.
are you gonna send the DDA a letter and ask them about the TIF monies, or are we just gonna let that?
Well, the trick is, I'm looking at this, all right, here, let me give you for instance. On a tax bill, Sydney has one in front of her, I can look at all these. On your tax bill, you have a separate line item for streets and the DDA collects money from the streets, and then they give money back to streets. We collect separate funds for the sanitation, and then the TIF does that. There's also village operating expense on here, which, that's a general, that's 10 mils. And then I don't have the actual, that's the problem, is it doesn't have the DDA in here, which is a fair amount. I personally think the DDA is double dipping unless the spreadsheets aren't right, and that's a whole other subject as far as the budgets go. How the lines don't line up. So, yeah, the more I dig into finances in this
But
village, the
it's
more I
like,
go.
who is overseeing the DDA or the HDC or these splinter groups seem to be autonomous and they're doing their own thing and we don't even know what they're doing. Like I read in the paper how Houghton, they got the DDA awarded grants recommended and the council actually was in the loop. We don't know who got grants recently, so we need to be the oversight for the total picture of the town. And I don't know how we're going to do it when we don't have the information.
Like I said, the more I dig, the more my head hurts, and the more I go, it doesn't look right, something's not right.
There's a lot of things that aren't clear.
I don't have answers to that questions.
I'm getting more all the time.
And the TIF, what does that stand for, Jen?
Tax increment financing.
Tax, because I've heard it before, but I.
Because you have these districts and they don't have to pay taxes for their last, for their section of town.
Tax increment,
Financing. So they get the money for their organization rather than going to the village. We wouldn't get it at all. Yeah.
You got anything else? Other than we have some homework to do?
no, just that, however you see, I'll be happy to help you.
I want to look at some things and sit down
So we're
and
going to focus
draw some
on the
things up.
garbage. We have other sanitation
I
issues in
understand,
town.
but we need
I
to,
guess I'm concerned, I see so many pigeons going inside J.C. Penney that if the windows are open and these birds are dying, couldn't we get a pestilence throughout the whole town from the dead pigeons that we're allowing to nest and
Yeah,
die?
broken windows of these open buildings, broken windows, and that's where the animals are gonna find their home. I have pigeons hanging around occasionally, but I think that's come to a halt when, Knuckles have closed up their gaps on their eaves, and the scaffolding is down.
Isn't that, yeah, that's progress and the
Yeah.
clock works.
Yeah.
And
So that's a plus for many months of trying to get that amended,
Yeah,
So that'll help with the pigeons.
So-
right there.
we are meeting, is it the first, or wait a minute, the second
I think it's the second Friday.
The second Friday every month at 2. That's what,
Okay.
let's see.
Second Friday.
Okay, at
Yeah.
2 p.m. Yeah, I have you August 4th. Wait a minute,
No,
is sanitation.
11th.
Okay, did we move it for some reason?
No, let me go back to the,
Okay, I think we had it
that's
as
the first Friday. Hold on.
I thought we were meeting the first Friday.
Like 2 weeks halfway in between. And we moved it this month because of the 4th of July. I
That's
thought,
right, yeah,
But-
yeah.
but I mean, we just have to know when we're meeting.
What's that one? That is July 12th, August 9th. Is that the one you were saying?
I had it as July 4th.
That's the wrong.
Friday the 4th. Shall I see what they have on the
That's
schedule?
what, I got a picture right now. Sanitation is, oops.
Didn't we used to
August
do
4th. You have August, it's
Yeah.
August 4th on the thing. something up
Yeah,
there.
because we always did it the first
First
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, because if we meet the third Tuesday, it's like 2 weeks before, and so we have a little time to do legwork if we have to.
So sanitation on the 4th at 2.
Yeah. And then our street committee, that was moved to Tuesdays, and the
On the
office,
first of the month.
the second. Wait a minute.
That's a Wednesday of August.
Well, we moved it this time, that was supposed to be the first as well, first Tuesday of the month,
Is August 1st.
yeah,
So that's for your streets, eh?
yeah,
You want streets on the first,
yes.
and we're doing the first Tuesday?
Yeah, and we were doing it at 1 normally, but we moved it to 12 for today because we got all whacked. Shall we stay at 1 or move it to 12? Well, I suppose 1.
One, that we get a chance to have.
Lunch? Okay, so that's good. And then we can get the schedule and keep them inside our notebooks.
Mhm.
And then public buildings is also on the,
First Friday.
yeah, right after sanitation.
Okay,
Do you think an hour is adequate? I do.
I think so.
Because,
That keeps us streamlined and we don't get down rabbit holes of,
okay, and the most pressing is the garbage, what to do about it.
Yeah, it's really an issue.
and it's gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be a tiptoe for us to, obviously, look at if we can recoup and increase some revenue from a few to offset the 3% increase and see if we can't get rid of that extra DDA money, and then we're gonna be fine. We do too much more than that, we're gonna start making money and then we gotta watch that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So the meeting is going to adjourn at
What do you got?
2:50?
Yep.
Good. See, you did so much work behind the scenes, that makes sense.
And I feel bad I didn't do everything I wanted to, Peggy, it's like,
I know,
seriously,
every day I go to bed and I haven't checked off everything on my to-do list, but that's life. There's a reason to get up the next day.
I sat down and spent a couple hours the other day with all this, and my wife goes, and then I went and sat down with a cold beverage, and she said, what do you know? I said, my head hurts. She
Yeah.
goes, well, I thought you were gonna work in the kitchen. I said, not today, honey, today's my day off. And she goes, doesn't look like your day off.
Yeah.
She is so talented.
Oh, so we were talking about office hours.
Right.
Anytime between 9 and 5, she gets phone calls, and she gets 2, 3, 4 phone calls a day for treasury stuff and all that, and we're talking.
Ooh, yeah.
And especially this time of year, because she's got all the mortgage
Books.
companies and
Yeah.
the books and all, and so they're calling her, asking questions, and she's, this last week, 2, 3 days, a couple hours at a time, she's on the phone with the clerk and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So
Treasury, yeah.
it's one of those things, we're talking about availability and all that, and she says, sure, I'm at home. She says, but that phone is ringing, and it's normally half hour, 45 minutes
Yeah.
per phone call to look up, to do all that with these mortgages and different things and changes and sends. She goes, people think I don't do anything. I do a lot.
Well, Victor Doyle used to be down here every afternoon in the summertime, and she shined all the silver, during that time, so it's kind of nice if you can be at your home, but you do see why there's a problem if the clerk doesn't want any
That's-
phone calls and doesn't want to come in, and there's no contact
That's
whatsoever.
where I was going with that. I'm like going, you got to be available. If you've got a job to do, you got to be available. You just
But
can't.
see, it's the dollars associated. For $100, do you want to be hassled in your home all the time? I mean, it's like, that's the problem. The money doesn't warrant.
Yeah, I get this Jermaine gal call me all the time. How do you do?
Yeah. I'm not even going to ask you for your phone number because I can never find it, so I never call it.
Yeah,
Peggy, I'm surprised I'm not on speed dial.
check that out. This is for our next one.
Oh,
This
this is,
is a new one, that's the
Oh,
old for
okay.
our buildings, yeah.
Okay, I'll stop that.
Yeah.
I need a 2-minute bathroom
Well,
break.
thanks,
I couldn't wait anymore. I had to go.
It's like, oh my.
That's good, that's good.
All right, kids.
Yeah,
So